the medical personnel. That is, the doctors, if they are legally bound by some legal principle when they are practicing the medicine. So this is the law as applied to the medical personnel or the doctors. Then we come to the word medical ethics. Medical ethics is the study of moral principles which guides the medical man in their dealings with their patients. That is, what are the moral principles when we dealing with their own patients, how the doctor should behave in the, that is what we say is the medical ethics. While medical is the laws of courtesy, when we observe a courtesy towards our brother doctors, that is how a doctor should deal with the other doctors, and these are the laws which we say the courtesy laws. And the violation of these medical ethics does not involve any punishment from the law. That is their etiquette behavior. Now when we come to the legal procedure, some things about we should understand the major codes and the acts when we are dealing with the legal sense. When we are going to the court, we should be acquainted that what are the things which the words which have been used in the court. First thing is we say is the IPC, or what we say is the Indian Penal Code. Is the body of law which was framed by the British and it came into existence in 1860. It classifies all possible crimes and describes the punishment for them. That means all the offences which are possible in the which are prescribed some punishment are embodied in this treatise. While the criminal procedure code, or what we say is the CRPC is the body of law and it deals with the powers of the criminal code and it describes the procedure which is followed while we are dealing with the criminal cases. That is how the offences which have been prescribed in the IPC has to be dealt, has to be tried in the court. The procedure is described in the Criminal Procedure Code. Then we have the Indian Evidence Act. Indian Evidence Act or IEA is a law which governs how the recording of the evidence is done in the court of law. The procedure of recording of witnesses' evidence are recorded in this Evidence Act. What are the rules which have been prescribed by this and they have to be followed in any court of law while recording the evidence. So basically we have three things: Indian Penal Code, the offences and the punishment, the procedure for trying those offences, and how to record the evidences under the Indian Evidence Act. Now, you must have used the term, you must have seen that whether it is a civil case or the criminal case. Civil law deals with when two parties are fighting with each. There is some dispute regarding some land, some property, some theft, something which involves two parties. That is, the disputes between the two parties are embodied in the civil law. In this, the person who brings the complaint, or what we say who initiates the lawsuit, is known as plaintiff, or what we can also say complainant or claimant, and the other party is known as defendant. So there are two parties, one who sues or who files a complaint against someone, and the person who files the complaint is known as plaintiff, and the other person is the defendant. The lawsuit in this case is known as civil case or civil suit. Generally, it addresses a private wrong such as breach of contract, encroachment or negligence, and The damages are basically are in the form of compensation, or sometimes in the divorce cases we can have the judicial separation, etc. These are the cases which we say is the civil law cases. Then we have criminal law. Criminal law deals with the offences which are against the public interest. That is, any offence which is against a person, his property, public safety or security of the state. That is what we say is the criminal law. Here, the state is the party who brings out who fights for the justice, and the other party is the defendant. The other party is the defendant. The state is represented by public prosecutor. Then the term which we use is what we say is the inquest. Inquest is an inquiry or investigation into the cause of death. Sometimes the death has occurred not because of natural circumstances, but because of some person has died due to murder, suicide, or some accident has taken place. These are the cases which are dealt with the state, and any inquiry or investigation into the cause of death in those cases are known as inquest. While if a person dies because of the natural disease, a person has heart attack or dies because of some disease, which requires no further investigation because the cause of death has already been opined by the doctor who has treated the patient. So there is no inquest that takes place in those cases. While if a person is found dead in a lonely place without any cause of death being ascertained, then we get it investigated by what we say is the inquest. There are different types of inquest. The most common type of inquest which is held in India is police inquest. Police inquest is held under the section of 174 Criminal Procedure Code. The investigating officer, which is known as IO, is usually a sub-inspector. The inquest is inferior to the magistrate inquest. What happens if the police comes to know that a person has died because of somebody has killed him, he died because of accident, or he committed suicide, or he has been killed by some animal or some by machinery, then the police in charge of the case send his subordinate officer, the sub-inspector, to investigate, and the sub-inspector goes to the scene of crime where the incident has taken place, and in presence of two responsible persons, he studies and he inspects the body and prepares a report recording his injuries, recording his whereabouts, what are the circumstances where the death has occurred, and he prepares a report which is known as Panchnama, or what we say is the inquest report, which is being signed by those persons. And then if he suspects some suspicion in the cause of death, he sends the body to the medical officers to conduct the postmortem. If he does not suspect anything foul play has taken place, then he gives the body to the relative for cremation purpose. So inquest which is held by the police inquest is conducted under section 174 CRPC, and in this the police or the investigating officer has power to summon someone who is acquainted with the incident or the case. Then he can call them for recording his statement, and if somebody refuses to attend to that call and refuses to give the statement, then he can also be punished under the Code of Law under Section 179 Indian Penal Code. Okay? Then we have magistrate inquest. Magistrate inquest is held. There are two types of magistrate inquest: the executive magistrate inquest and the judicial magistrate inquest. So, the executive magistrate inquest is held under Section 176(1) CRPC. This is done in cases of a woman has committed suicide within 7 years of marriage, or the death of the woman occurs within 7 years of marriage, and a suspicion has been raised by someone who is that there is a suspicion in the death of that woman, or the case involves the exhumation of the body who has been buried earlier. That exhumation has to be ordered by the executive magistrate for conduction of further inquiry into a suspected case of foul play. So these are the circumstances where the executive magistrate holds the inquest, or the executive magistrate could be the sub-divisional magistrate, it may be additional divisional magistrate, and mostly the district magistrate orders that inquest. Sometimes the judicial magistrate of the power of metropolitan magistrate or judicial magistrate of session courts, etc., they can also hold the inquest. These are done under Section 176(1)(a) CRPC. In cases, these occur in cases of death, where there is a death has occurred, or the disappearance of a person in the police custody, or the death of a person has occurred due to police firing, or the rape and death of a woman takes place in the police custody or in any other custody of a civil servant, where these are the circumstances where the inquest is held by the judicial magistrate, or what we say is the metropolitan magistrate in metropolitan. So how do we classify the different types of inquest? And just to give you the overview where police inquest is conducted by the police officer under Section 174 CRPC. It is prevalent all over India, and it is not considered very good inquest, though maximum inquests are conducted by the police. Then is the executive magistrate inquest, which is done under Section 176(1) CRPC. All over present, it is prevalent all over India, and it is better than the police inquest. The judicial magistrate inquest, which is conducted in the police custody death or rape and death of a woman in the police custody, these are the cases which is dealt by the judicial magistrate, which is also prevalent all over India, and it is even superior to the executive magistrate inquest. The other types of inquest, what we say is the coroner inquest, is not prevalent in India. It was prevalent in Bombay till 1999, while it is prevalent in UK, Canada, Australia, and it is considered very good because coroner takes the help of the jury and inform the circumstances of the death, and then makes the opinion regarding the cause of death. There is something known as procurator fiscal inquest, which is similar to the coroner inquest but prevalent in Scotland. Other type of inquest, which is known as medical examiner system, as the term says, the medical personnel, he conducts the inquest in these cases. He is both legally and medically qualified. That is why he is the first person who proceeds to the scene of incident at the time of inquest, and it is considered best and the most superior system of the inquest. It is prevalent only in USA. So what is the overview of the police, executive, judicial magistrate? Since we are in India have only these types of inquest, we will be talking in detail about these types of inquest. Because when you are going to the court, you must know that, or you are conducting postmortem, then you must know what type of, who is conducting the inquest and what type of inquest it is. So, as you know, the police inquest is conducted by the police, the executive magistrate will conduct the executive magistrate inquest, judicial magistrate inquest by the judicial magistrate. The information, while the police conducts the inquest, first of all, he sends the information about the incident to the executive magistrate of the area. So he has to inform the executive magistrate of the area about the some incident which has taken place in his judicial area. While executive magistrate, he does not have to inform anyone. Judicial magistrate, he does not inform to anyone. What are the cases which are done by the police? All except which are done by the magistrate are done by the police inquest. As I told you, the executive magistrate is the inquest the death of a woman within 7 years of marriage or in case of execution, while judicial magistrate conducts deaths which have occurred in the custody of the police. All of these can examine the witnesses, while the police examine the witnesses under section 175 CRPC. Executive magistrates have their own power under section 176 1 CRPC and judicial magistrate under 176 1A CRPC. There is no value in of witnesses under police inquest because their statements which are given to the police are not admissible in the court, while the statements made to the executive magistrate and judicial magistrate are of valuable and they are admissible in the court of law. Exhumation can be ordered only by the executive or judicial magistrate. The police cannot order but can request for the examination of viscera, while the magistrate can order for the examination of viscera. So as you can see, the quality of investigation is inferior as compared in the police inquest as compared to the executive and judicial magistrate inquest. So we just to tell you about how magistrate inquest and coroner inquest differ. In the coroner inquest, the accused need not be present, while in magistrate court, the accused has to be found, has to be there. The punishment or fine cannot be awarded by the coroner's court, while the magistrate court can impose the fine. The contempt of court, if contempt is done within the coroner's court, he can be punished. If contempt is done out of magistrate order anywhere, it can be punished. So what are just to give you the idea about the different courts, we have Supreme Court, High Court, Session Court and Judicial Magistrate Court. The highest court in the India is what we say the apex court, which was established under the Article 124 versus Supreme Court. The Chief Justice of India is appointed by the President of India and it has the power over the lower court. That means it has supervisory power over the lower court. Any sentence passed by the by any judgment passed by the these courts have to be abided by any of the lower courts. It can try all the criminal offences and can pass any sentence or punishment which is authorized by the law. Actually, basically it is the appellant court which gives the person who is not satisfied with the judgment of the lower court can go up to the Supreme Court. Then we have the High Court. High courts are usually there is one high court located in the state capital of that state. Mostly they are present in the capital of that state. These are decided by the Chief Justice of India. It can try all criminal offences and can pass any sentence authorized by the law. And if there is a sentence of death has been passed by the lower court or by the session court, it has to be confirmed by the high court. Session court which can pass any sentence of death also, but it is not applicable unless it is confirmed by the high court. This is just to give the overview of the court. Then we have sessions court. Sessions courts are present in the district. Any state has different districts and every district will have a session court. These are decided by the district judge which is appointed by the high court. They also have additional and assistant sessions court. It can try any cases preferred by a magistrate. If they have all the powers of passing any sentence, but the punishment of death sentence has to be confirmed by the High Court. So this is just an example in Delhi, which we have the district court. We have different district courts in Delhi also, depending on the different districts. In these courts, we have Chief Judicial Magistrate, or in metropolitan, we name it as Chief Metropolitan Magistrate. Then we have first class Judicial Magistrate, or what we say is the Metropolitan Magistrate, and second class Judicial Magistrate. We just give you what are the different powers of different courts. So, as you can see, the Supreme Court, any punishment can pass, any amount of fine. Then High Court, any punishment, capital punishment also, and fine, any amount. District Session Judge can pass any sentence, can give even the capital punishment, but the capital punishment has to be confirmed by the High Court. It can also award any amount of fine. While the additional, or what we say ADJ, additional district and session judge, which has the same power and it also can pass any sentence. While assistant session judge can award punishment up to the imprisonment up to the 10 years of punishment, while the fine will be any amount. While Chief Judicial Magistrate can award punishment for up to 7 years of imprisonment, while the fine could be anything. First class magistrate, or what we say is the metropolitan magistrate in metropolitan cities, it can award sentence or imprisonment up to 3 years, and the fine up to only ₹10,000. While the second class magistrate can award fine and imprisonment up to 1 year and fine up to ₹5,000. So these are the things you must know during the judgment, because you must know the powers of different types of courts and how much offense or how much punishment they can give. Offense. Now we come to the offense. Offense offense is an act or omission which is punishable by the law under Indian Penal Code, or anything, either the act of commission or the act of omission which is punishable by the law is known as offense. There are two types of offense we can say. You may be knowing that a police officer cannot arrest without warrant. Yes, he can. He can only when the offense is cognizable offense. Cognizable offense is a police officer can arrest without seeking warrant from the magistrate. So these are the cases of dowry death, rape, or any murder. In this, police officer goes and can arrest a person who thinks he is a suspect in that case. He can arrest them. While for non-cognizable offense, the police officer has to seek the warrant from the magistrate concerned. So when we come to the cognizable offense, it is defined under section 2C of CRPC. While you need not remember these, the information, the police can record information in writing by the cognizable, while the police has to refer, has to inform in register and refer the informant to a magistrate. He can he can take the person, accused person or suspected accused person to the magistrate for recording his information. The police can arrest without warrant in cognizable offense, while he cannot in this. Police can start investigation without the order of the magistrate. He can start the investigation also, while the police officer cannot start the investigation in cognizable offense without the order of the magistrate. So you can see these are the offences, or cognizable offences are more serious as compared to the non-cognizable offences. So what are the punishments which are by the law? A sentence of capital punishment or death sentence, a sentence of imprisonment for life, imprisonment, or it may be rigorous or simple, or we can forfeit the property of the person or the accused person, or we can put the fine. So these are the sentences which are punishable or which are recorded in the law, the death to fine. But a person, no person can be prosecuted when he has been punished for one offense. He cannot be punished later on. Then we come to the important thing for the doctors to know, the subpoena, or what we say is the summon. Summon or subpoena is a Latin word from where it is sub under or poena under penalty. A thing which is served under penalty is a document issued by the court which compels the attendance of a witness in the court of law on a particular day at a particular time and place for the purpose of giving or for the purpose of recording his evidence. So the court issues a document which compels any person who may be a witness in that particular case to come to that place or to the court in that in the defined place and time for purpose of giving evidence. So this is an important document which is issued by the court to call a witness to record his statement. So in both civil or criminal types of offences, the court may issue a summons. Whether a document is required, the person should bring any documents which he thinks are appropriate or required in the court of law So he should bring that document along with that. So these are the summons are issued by a police officer or the court officer or any other public servant which are delivered to that person in duplicate, and the person who receives it, the witness who receives it, give the receipt on the back of a duplicate copy and give it back to the police officer or the court officer who has delivered that summons. And then he complies with the order of that summons. So, if like us, we are government servants, in those cases, the summons is issued to the head of office, and the head of the office makes it that the summons should be delivered to the person concerned. Suppose a doctor has made a medical report, and and the report has been signed, and when the court wants the doctor to give evidence in the court of law on that particular date and time, he issued a summons in the name of that particular doctor, but the summons is delivered to the medical superintendent or to the head of the office, head of the department of that hospital, and subsequently the head of the department makes it that the person or the doctor who has made the report should be issued that summons. Okay, so the summons may not be directly issued to the doctor concerned, but it has been issued by the head of the office, and it is the duty of the head of the office to get it delivered to that government servant, and then subsequently he attends that court to give the evidence. If the person avoids summons, then he may be punished for 6 months or he may be punished for fine or both without giving any valid reason. If the person does not attend to that summons, the court has power to give the punishment of 6 months imprisonment. If suppose the person is not at home whenever the summons is served, then someone may be delivered to any other member of the family. Any of the members of the family has to receive the summons, but it should not be given to the servant. If the some person is not there or the family is not there, the house is locked, then the someone is pasted on some prominent part of the house where any person can see that someone has been issued on that. Okay? If the person is not able to attend to that summons, first of all, the court issues a warrant. A warrant means the person can be arrested or may be compelled to go to that court with that person under warrant. Suppose a person or the doctor receives 2 summons from the 2 courts, then he has to see whether the court is criminal court or the civil court. If he has one summon is for the criminal court, one is from the civil court, then he should attend the criminal court first. Then inform the civil court that because on that day he has received a summons from the criminal court, he is not able to attend the civil court on that day. Please give me some other day. Same way, if 2 summons have been received on the same day from 2 courts, one is higher, one is lower, then higher court will take precedence over the lower court, but the lower court has to be informed that why the person is not able to attend the court at this time. Okay? But it may happen that both the courts are of Metropolitan Magistrate or of the Sessions Court, Criminal Court of the same status, of the same status. Then in that case, where from where the summons has been received on an earlier date will proceed over the summons which has been received later on. But the summons which has been received later on, the court should be informed that because he has received the summons from this and those courts on that day, on a particular date, so he will not be able to attend this court on that day. If witness fails to attend the court without any valid reason, in the civil court, he will be issued warrant, he will be given fine. While in criminal court, he avoids the criminal court, then along with the issue of warrant, fine, he may be sent to imprisonment also. But in so many times, the person, the doctor is not able to attend the court because he is not well or he is doing the university exam or some other duties which compels him to be on the state of on his place of duty rather than attend the court. Then he should he should inform that court that he is not able to attend the court on that particular basis because of this reason. So he may be issued uh, fresh summons for the different day. So these are the things which you should remember while a summons has been served. Please do not avoid summons so that you may not be called for any warrant or some punishment different from the not attending the summons. While you attend the summons, some type of expense is also paid by the court while you are proceeding to the court. In civil cases, while at the time of serving the summons, you are paid or at least the amount is mentioned in the summons itself that while you attend the court, this much amount will be paid to you for your service. Okay. Usually the party which calls the doctor will pay and the doctor in those cases may request the court to, to compensate his loss of either earning of that day or the expenses which he has incurred while traveling. That this was mentioned at the time of summons, but this is reasonably not good, so he may be paid the higher amount. In civil cases, he can demand that. While in criminal cases, first thing, no money is paid at the time of summons, and no amount of money is mentioned at the time of issuing the summons, but the court also pays the to and fro expenses to the doctor in the while he attends the summons. A government doctor is usually given the attendance certificate, and on the basis of the attendance certificate of the court, he is paid by his own office because this is one of the government duties also. So this is overall of all the things which we will be talk about the legal procedure, the different courts, the inquest, the different types of inquest, and then we talked about the different types of courts and the powers of the different types of courts. So while we are dealing with the medical legal cases, we must have an idea of the yes, court procedures. So in the second class, we will be discussing about the procedures which we adopt in the court. So for now, we will call it a day and So we'll just finish it there.